Order online at picassospizza.net.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to this Trainwreck Sports Podcast, where we are here to pay the bills. Presented by picassospizza.net. Get your Picasso's Pizza anywhere, nationwide and in Western New York. The Buffalo Bills win again in a. Let's start with AJ on the spot. One word to describe the Bills' win over the Browns on Sunday in Cleveland.
One word to describe the Bills' win in Sunday in Cleveland. Man,
I know it's a tough one.
I'm gonna go with I'll say survival. They survived.
Like
That's the word I would use. I think they went into that game. You know, like the Browns go right down and score. You know, obviously James Cook responds, but it's 7-7, and they get a nice, comfortable lead, and then they really couldn't pull away from there. And the Browns got a lot of chances in that game, but the Browns browned, and they, could not take advantage of the Bills' miscues down the stretch there, and the Bills' defense made some timely plays. So I think it's survived. I go with it's a win they needed. It keeps pace with the Chargers of the world. It keeps them a game ahead of Houston in the AFC. You're playing an opponent that's likely trying to get a quarterback. When you look around the league, the Titans, I believe, won this week, or maybe that was last week, but I think the Titans won this week, and a couple other teams have been winning in that lower tier. I think the Saints beat the Jets, so that's another team that's lower there that for those that first overall pick. I don't think really the Browns were looking to win. The Judkins injury really hurt them. Obviously, on a really routine play, Matt Milano, you see that a lot. He really read the play, read the screen, and just flew straight to the ball. Good downhill speed from Matt Milano. He's put together a couple of good weeks here in December, and I thought it looked like a routine tackle when I was there. And then obviously you see the replay, and he was in major pain and just had surgery. So yeah, I would say survived. They got it done. It was not pretty. I don't think, again, I don't feel any more confident about the team. I don't feel any less confident about the team. I'm kind of where I've been with. I don't think they're capable of making a run, but I think they can if the pieces fall in the right place, and they could maybe steal a home game if it plays out that way. But for me, this team, you look at the numbers, the analytics this year, you look at their defense and how it struggled, and you look at just the AFC, and overall, I think it's going to be hard to expect them to do that. And obviously that there's not a great probability that happens, right? So I'm kind of predicting what is probably the most likely scenario, that they don't make a run, but I don't think I'm going to take the hot take and make a big swing and say that this team is going to do it. I'm not going to go down that road. I've done it before, but not this year. I'm going to go with the 85% chance of them falling short. And then that's where the conversation gets really interesting if that does happen. But good win. It can happen. They can get it done. They do have talent. Josh Allen, James Cook can carry. The Bills' defense has been timely. They forced turnovers, but they survived against Cleveland, and we'll see where this takes them going into Philly.
Damn, I could have sworn the question was one word to describe the Bills' win over Cleveland. That seemed like thousands of words, but maybe that's just me. But my one word would be underwhelming.
So I do. You guys did go opposite ends of the spectrum. Where AJ said he did think about it. I put him on the spot. To be fair, he had the one word, and then Bundt was just waiting to.
Bundt followed the rules for the first time.
While AJ was for the first time.
Do you want me to explain it, Jake? Because I can go into detail if you want me to.
I would love you. I would love to hear your detail. Now I want many words. First one, then many.
Ask and you shall receive. So everybody was talking about the offense stunk. It's a story of two halves again. The first half, they scored 3 touchdowns on 4 drives. They were moving the ball really well in the first half. I liked what they were doing. James Cook was dominating, over 100 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. Ty Johnson had a touchdown run. I liked what they did in the first half. They were keeping the ball away from Myles Garrett. They were effective. They go up 20-10. Things are feeling good. And the Browns are actually a pretty bad second half team. So going into halftime, after they botched the snap, I know the worry was, is Josh okay? Is he going to be able to return to the game? But once he put his helmet on for the second half, I was feeling pretty good. Okay, this is going to be one of those games where Bills start the second half, they put some points on the board, and they're going to run away, and they're going to own this thing. What was kind of disappointing this game was they just never found any rhythm in the second half. But I do think people are overreacting to a degree, because there was a few plays that had they gone a different way, this would have been a completely different game. Dawson Knox drops a wide open pass in the end zone. Unacceptable. And this also proves why Dawson Knox is never heavily involved in the offense, because when he is, he makes too many or unforced errors. That would have created a 10-point lead for the Bills. You have a moment on 3rd and 4 where Khalil Shakir is wide open with a ton of space. That probably results in points for the Bills on that drive, at least a field goal, maybe a touchdown. And you also have the James Cook drop to start the second half. Those 3 plays go the way that they should 99% of the time for the Bills. And you're talking about a game where the Bills offense puts up a minimum 30 points, probably more, and it looks a lot different. And so while I am disappointed with how the offense performed overall, it's correctable little things. And this is not a repeat of Houston or a repeat of Atlanta where they were just overwhelmed. It was more so you need to have a little bit better focus, and you need to execute. Now, defensively, they are what they are. I don't expect greatness out of this defense. And I predicted Cleveland to have 17 points because I expected the Bills defense to have struggles at points, even though they're going up against Shedeur Sanders. This defense is what it is. They can have a game where they allow 24 points against the worst offense in the league, and you feel like they're horrible. Then they'll play a game against the best offense in the league. They'll allow 24 points, and it'll be the same result. Like all I can tell you is most of the time they allow between 21 to 24 points. And we always feel like at the end of the day, oh, this defense stinks and it's horrible. Like they're definitely not good. But if it's the playoffs and they allow 21 to 24 points against half the teams in the AFC, you're going to come out of the game saying the Bills should have won the game. So I get the frustrations of Bills fans. It was underwhelming. It never should have come down to the final sequence of the game that it did. But at the end of the day, I never had a moment of fear that the Bills were actually going to lose this game. Even when Cleveland had the ball on the final drive, I still thought the only way we're losing this game is if they score a touchdown with a little amount of time and we have no chance to respond. But at the end of the day, underwhelming, because Cleveland's one of the worst teams in the league. And you gotta do better than pull away with a 3-point win.
All right, I gotta think of a one word. I should have been thinking about my one word would have been this whole time while you two talked, but I couldn't really. You know, I did think of one, and I'm gonna stick with it. Satisfactory is what it'll do, because I think they came in. There was a lot of it, and this might just be not as much conspiracy theory, but a little bit conspiracy theory on my part. Is that there was so much of the Josh's mindset and the offensive mindset that they weren't going to let Garrett get that sack record. They're running away from him. All the passing offense was away from him. It just felt like it was a team that has done this in games this year, gone into games, whether it be game plan, mindset, whatever it is, thinking that it was going to be an easier day and that they didn't need to bring their A game. And that's the inconsistency that when AJ is saying, I don't know if this team can do it. It's like, yeah, because they haven't shown the same amount of focus on a week-to-week basis. We've talked about it a lot this year, and years past, where this team is the worst enemy of itself as much as anything else. Like they hurt themselves, they beat themselves, they will make mistakes at times. But when it's late December and you get a win on the road against a really good defense and a player like Myles Garrett, and you're able to keep him within check, I don't even think he should have had the half a sack there, honestly, but to each their own, whatever it is. And you just make enough plays. Your defense makes plays in the second half. There hasn't been a true complementary game by this team offensively and defensively this year, and this game was not the case again. But you get a win when you need to. This is a game where I could have seen them losing in years past and losing a Super Bowl. I've just to a lesser team later in the season, or not even later in the season, but on the road in this scenario, even earlier in the season. So I think that it's shown some amount of growth. Satisfactory. You get an S. It's like when your teacher doesn't want to give like when everybody did really bad on the test. AJ, this is speaking to you. When everybody does really bad on a test and you don't want to like hurt their feelings, so you just do like the satisfactory and unsatisfactory grades and like, all right, listen, we can tell you guys tried. You get an S. But we can tell some of these kids just didn't try at all. So you didn't do nothing. You get the unsatisfactory. The Bills, not a lot of the guys passed the test on Sunday, but they got the job done. They get a satisfactory grade. No A's, no B's, no C's. Let's just flush it away. Go to the next one.
I would put unsatisfied down the entire report card besides Greg Rousseau. So, yeah. But AJ,
that is right. AJ, noted Greg Rousseau stan, AJ Cebulski on this podcast tonight, guys. Don't you forget it. It was a great play by him. Great couple plays there. Where do we want to start with this? If there's anything else you want to get into on this game, I think I just don't know what else to take. Like, we're at this point in the season where I don't know what to take away from this and what it's going to mean like to them specifically going forward. This is who they've been on the road. The road specifically all year long has been incredibly inconsistent. Had spurts both offensively and defensively, which we saw again in this game, but they played and I liked Mike Lombardi, now is he the general manager for North Carolina? Is that is official position there? And the guy and worked with Bill Belichick and the Patriots. He always used to just, when he did podcasts on the circuits and everything before, used to call teams like 40-minute teams, 50-minute teams, 60-minute teams, and that was like a way, like 60-minute team is obviously what you want to be. Like a team can be elite for 50 minutes, but what happens in those 10 minutes? The Bills are more of like a 40-minute team, but when they're a 60-minute team, they're the best 60-minute team in the league, it seems like. And the variance is infuriating for us as fans, AJ, and that's a good thing to jump onto. They clinched the playoffs still. They're in the 7th straight year of being a playoff team. The Colts lose last night. And what was, I don't know if you're a true American, a true football fan, if you weren't rooting for Phillip Rivers to just pull that off. But how beautiful and poetic was it for him to throw a pick six to end probably his career with the Colts, this little mini run again. It was a great game from Phil and everything else. But the Bills clinched the playoffs again. And does that kind of set where you're at mentally right now, where it's like, yes, they've made the playoffs all these times. Yes, I know they can pull out all these wins. Yes, I know the different heights in that they can reach, but the fact that they can be so porous like they were for 20 minutes, as I was saying, in this game against the Browns, does that frustration like multiply because of how long they've made the playoffs in a row and how many times we've seen the same story play out, or is it specific to this team alone?
Yeah, I think I'll set the table for this pretty well. I tweeted last night when the Bills had officially clinched the playoffs about them having the longest active playoff streak, which 7 consecutive seasons, 2019 to 2025. They have the longest active streak of making the playoffs in the NFL with 7 consecutive seasons, again, 2019 to 2025. And, it got good clicks and it did well, but a lot of the comments were nothing to show for it. You're really good at, making, Bills fans and the Bills are really good at going on streaks, but having nothing to show for it, aka 4 straight Super Bowl appearances with nothing to show for it. And that's where I think, not only is the national narrative that about the Bills. Like I think there was a lot of fans that weren't Bills fans saying that, but I also think it's getting to the point where Bills fans are also beginning to say that. And I think this is the most important, and I guess you could say this going into every season, but I think for the future of Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane, I would say this is the most important postseason in their tenure. And I would also say that this is the most important postseason in Josh Allen's career, just because of the fact that the team that he loses to, the quarterback he loses to, isn't in there. I still think that nationally is going to be a thing. Now, might not be the difference, and it might not be Josh Allen's fault, that the Bills fall short in the playoffs, but that's still going to be the talking point if the Bills do indeed fall short. So I think it's a matter of the Bills fans just getting sick of it. Aaron Quinn from Cover One retweeted or quote tweeted my tweet and said "Fire McDermott" sarcastically, and I went in his mentions and there were about 100 responses to him saying like, this isn't really that much.
By the way, he did mention about firing McDermott when the Bills were down 21-0 to the Patriots. So little double standard there to mock fans about firing McDermott when he literally alluded that he was basically okay with it during the middle of a football game 2 weeks.
Got the receipts.
Well, I didn't see that, but I'm just saying I saw Aaron Quinn. I get his point. Like I get because here's the thing: it's to be as good as long as you can and hope you get lucky. But how long can you accept being as good as long as you can, or can you be as good as long as you can with Josh Allen and James Cook, despite the coaching staff? Like, is the coaching staff the reason, or is it Josh Allen and what they've built around him? So I struggle with the be. I understand why the be as good for as long as you can and hope you get lucky is a thing, and I get why that's important. But when you're going on 7 straight years and you have 2 AFC Championship appearances, you lost in the wild card round once, and the other 4 times you fell short in the divisional round, 5 times to the Chiefs. No, 5 times to the Chiefs, once to the Bengals, and then once to the Houston. Like, there needs to be, like, if they want the talk to be McDermott being to stay, they need to make the Super Bowl. And maybe not win it, but they need to get there. And I get it; it's going to be challenging, and they're going to probably, be a 5 seed or 6 seed and be on the road. But I think that's how important it is. I think the narrative and the Bills fans are, if you do not do it this year, you look at the experience this team has, and you fall short again. It's like, what other narrative can Bills fans build to try and like make themselves feel better going into a playoff run? Because this is what we do every year. We make ourselves feel like there's hope. There's a way. There's a loophole we can kind of frame it to be like, maybe that this is the team. This is the team that can do it. And I think you're running out of those loopholes and going on 8-7 years. There's just a time. There's a time, and I think the time for 90% of fans, even McDermott lovers, even Bean lovers, all the above, I think this is the most important postseason in their tenure.
I've said it on the show the last few weeks. Like, regardless of what happens in the playoffs this year, I'm moving on from McDermott and Bean. And people think I'm crazy because it's a results-oriented business, and I get that. And they've brought a ton of great results. And I've been very patient. AJ can vouch for that. Like, I've been patient with Bean and McDermott. When a lot of them were getting hate, I would defend them and say, well, as long as they're still playing at this elite level, they deserve more opportunities. The difference now being is we've seen them kind of recreate this team in their vision after the first group of core veterans have moved on. And the younger guys are actually leading to some regression with the roster. They are getting worse in their receiver room. They are worse as a run-stopping team. And they were already bad stopping the run. They are not as good in the secondary as what they were in the past, despite having some talent in their secondary. They obviously have a good offensive line. They have good tight ends. They have an elite running back. But it's the feeling that I don't believe in the direction they're building this team right now. I think McDermott's a good enough coach where he can get results regardless of who's on the field because he has an all-pro MVP quarterback. But I don't know if McDermott can continue to win games at a high level if he has this talent deficit that I believe the Bills have right now. And then at the same time, who's responsible for that? That's Brandon Beane. And to me, they go together. I know they have disagreements. They probably don't always support each other's decisions. But at this point, you can't tell me that Beane is more responsible for the Bills' success or that McDermott is more responsible for the Bills' success. They're tied at the hip. And when I look at things, I'm thinking, how do I get this team to the next level? And even if they win a Super Bowl, people can say, well, they won a Super Bowl. Isn't this proof? Well, once you win one, you don't want to stop at one and just reward them and say, okay, now you got a job forever. You want to win another one. And I think regardless of what happens in the playoffs this year, I don't have the optimism that this team is going in the right direction moving forward. So I would make a change, honestly, either way. But I know that's not how things are run, and I know that'll never happen. But we'll see if Pegula would be willing to make a change if they fall short in the playoffs, because really they don't have any excuses this year. Like I've said this many times on the show, and a lot of Bills fans disagree with me. But to me, it's a simple fact, and Nick Wright has kind of mentioned this too. Kansas City has always just been a step above the Bills. Like I haven't picked the Bills to win a Super Bowl any year during this Josh Allen era. It's because as good as the Bills have been, I've always thought, push comes to shove, Kansas City's just better. They're going to make the play in the big moment. They're going to get the stop when they need to. And you're going to have to beat Kansas City in Kansas City, which we haven't shown to be able to in the playoffs. So I think the Bills team's last 5 years are far superior to this Bills team. But they don't have Kansas City in their way. They don't have Joe Burrow and the Bengals in their way. They're not going to have Lamar. And I know they're 2-0 against Lamar Jackson in the playoffs, but let's be real. Like, not having Lamar in the playoffs, that's a huge thing too. So if you're talking about an old Aaron Rodgers, Drake May, Trevor Lawrence, Bo Nix, Justin Herbert, guys like that, there's no CJ Stroud. There's no excuse for this team not to make a run. And I know everybody keeps saying, well, they haven't looked great this year. They haven't put it together. They're inconsistent on the road. Those are all very valid points. But you know what I can say those points about? The Kansas City Chiefs the last couple years. They struggled to score. They put up 22 points a game. They narrowly won a lot of games last year. They weren't world killers. They won 11-1 in one-score games. They were playing close games the whole season. But you know what? Come playoff time, they got the job done. And yes, they ultimately lost the Super Bowl, but they got there. And that's the important thing. And the year before that, they were very inconsistent offensively. But come playoff time, they showed up. So I don't need to see what the Bills do the next 2 weeks to really change my opinion. There's nothing they can do against Philadelphia or the Jets that are going to change my opinions of this team. But my simple thought is this. You get on the field and the Bills play their brand of football, they are the best team in the AFC. Now, will they do that 3 consecutive weeks to get to a Super Bowl? I don't know. The odds are probably against it. But you could say the same thing for the Denver Broncos, the New England Patriots, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Los Angeles Chargers, and the Houston Texans. So, at the end of the day, that's the difference. When Kansas City was in the playoffs, you entered every year thinking, how does anyone in this conference get past them? And it felt not possible. Now it's who's going to take advantage of the AFC field with no Kansas City, with no Cincinnati, with no Baltimore in it. So this is where randomness plays a role. It's funny, the Bills are a 5 seed, but their odds are within 5% of what they were when they were a 2 seed. So it could go either way. The current Poly Market odds have AFC Championship, Bills and Broncos at 19%, Jacksonville 16%, New England 16%, and Houston at 12%. What those are saying is they think New England has to get the 1 seed to really have a chance. The odds don't like New England going into Denver, if they have to play in Denver, of advancing out of the AFC. The odds don't love Jacksonville going on the road against New England or Denver of getting to the Super Bowl. Right now, they're saying this. They think the Bills can go on the road and win games, but they're a little cautious and they don't want to commit all the way. And that if the Bills don't do it, they think Denver with home field advantage will.
And I think that's the duality that is really tripping people up. Is that yes, we have watched these Bills. If you're a Bills fan, you've watched these Bills closely this year, and you just know something's different about this team. You're like, it's not the same. It's not the same sharpness as in years past. It's not the lows have been lower. than most of these years where this team at periods of games can just look like a mess. And just, I mean, the Miami game doesn't even, like, very few and far between the Miami performance, like, of the last couple of years. Even when they lost games the last couple of years, it's been closer games. Their point differential was through the moon because of it. And it was really hard to put them away. And this year they've just looked and a lot of their own doing, a lot from just getting beat up, but like losing, like playing down to inferior teams way more often as much this year and everything else. But that pressure of the expectations from all the years and them being here, the pressure from whether it be our own fans talking about all the quarterbacks missing, or national media starting to push the narrative, or all the haters starting to push the narrative, where it's already like, if the Bills, that's the thing too, is if the Bills do win the Super Bowl, they're not even gonna get, it's already like being discredited in real time, because they're like, well, the road's gonna be so, like, it's gone from, if the Bills don't do it, they blow it, and then if they do it, it'll turn into, well, this is a fake Mickey Mouse Super Bowl because these quarterbacks, like, it's gonna.
Can we talk about
fighting against
for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, not to interrupt.
No, you're good.
But do you actually believe this Bills team feels added pressure? Because I think the national narrative that they feel pressure to win it this year because all those quarterbacks are out, I think that's a bunch of garbage. I think
I don't think so.
I think this team feels pressure when they're playing Kansas City and they know they have to play nearly flawless football to get past them. If they win or lose, like against New England or Denver, I don't think that's pressure. I think it's execution and maybe lesser talent. But they lose to Kansas City because of pressure and lack of execution in big moments. I don't think that's going to be the reason if they fall to Denver or New England. It's not going to be because of pressure. And that's what I want it to be known. Like, the narratives are talking about pressure. That is not going to play 1 ounce into anything that happens in this postseason.
But my response to that would be maybe pressure doesn't, but maybe it does. Like because here's my point is they lost. They also have fallen short to Cincinnati, and I know they're not in there either, and I know it is more of a KC problem, but I think where I don't know, like, if you look at the metrics for the Bills, this Bills team, I don't know at their best if you could say they're the best team in the AFC this year. That's where I think I disagree a little bit. I think if you look right now,
nobody's calling them the best team in the AFC. They're like the 5th team in the AFC.
Yeah, but you had said earlier that when the Bills play at their best, they're the best team.
But that's undeniable because they have an MVP quarterback who has
I don't even know if that's the case. I think the Bills could play at their best and still lose.
I think I would highly debate that.
That's fine.
No, because here's the thing. And I'm not. We know Kansas City's had.
Could you say that about any team in the AFC or just
no? You can't. You can't.
Okay, explain it.
You can't, because when you're saying ceiling, you're saying everything going right. What is the best version of yourself? So let's talk about the Bills. Like, you have Josh Allen, who is a freak quarterback, who is the best in the NFL at the current moment. The reason why no one in the AFC at their ceiling can reach the Bills is, quite frankly, this. What is the best the Broncos? Let's go team by team. What is the best the Broncos can be? Are they scoring 50 points in a game if they need to?
No, but their defense could
totally. But let's talk about ceiling. This is what I mean by ceiling. Ceiling is the absolute best version of yourself. Floor, the absolute worst version of yourself. Now, the Bills' floor is a lot lower than in previous years. That 100% is a true statement. The Bills' average play, their median play, is lower than what it has been in previous years. Absolutely agree with that. So the reason why the Bills are more vulnerable is because their floor is lower. Their median play is lower. But we've also seen a team that when Baltimore was healthy the first week of the season, they put up 40+ against that team. They put up 40, high 30s.
Just beat Denver on the road last week.
No, but here's the thing. Points. Bo Nix is a second-year quarterback. The Broncos have offensive flashes, but they don't consistently put up a lot of points. Denver would need to be they would need everything clicking to have their ceiling. And offensively, they haven't done that many times this season. Denver's best version of themselves is getting pass rush, forcing turnovers, and then holding teams down to lower scoring games. Denver wants to win games 24-17. They want to win 27-17, stuff like that. You look at New England. They've beaten up on so many weak teams this year. Now, the Baltimore win is impressive, and their win over Buffalo is impressive. But how are they beating Baltimore? How are they beating the Bills? They beat Baltimore because they came back late going up against a backup quarterback. They beat the Bills because it was a game where the Bills made mistakes. So when New England is playing nobodies, they get ahead early, and then they can burn clock. They play solid defense. Teams can't run against them. And then New England finds a way to hold on. New England is not a team that is playing well in the second half because they haven't had to play many tight games. So what is New England at their best? Yeah, maybe New England has the second highest ceiling in the AFC, but they haven't shown that they do it against the best competition. Jacksonville might actually have the second highest ceiling in the AFC because they have Trevor Lawrence going on fire of late. So,
what about Houston's defense?
Has the same problem that Denver has. They don't have an offense. This is the thing about the ceiling.
Do the Bills have a defense?
No, but ceiling is complete all around. In the NFL, if you're going to tell teams, because I'll put it like this. What's the difference between the best defense in the NFL and the worst defense in the NFL? It's probably the difference between allowing 17 points a game and allowing 25 points a game. Generally speaking, even if you have a bad defense, if you had a great offense, you're going to win games. And if you have a bad defense, if you have a great defense, but you have no offense, you're going to struggle to win games. So the teams like Houston, the teams like Denver, they don't have massive margins of error in their games. Because if their defense comes to play and they hold a team to 14 and they're struggling to score 17, they're still going to have to find a way to get 17 points. And that's not a given for them on a game-by-game basis. The reason why the teams with the most offense have the highest ceilings is that the Bills and the Jaguars, they're capable of winning in a variety of ways. The Bills and Jaguars can win a game 38-35, but say the Bills are in a game against Denver or Houston, and Houston comes up to Buffalo, and they're struggling to run the ball, and C.J. Stroud isn't completing passes. The Bills can beat a team like Houston 17-14. Just because it hasn't happened much this season doesn't mean the Bills can't. We talk about how bad the Bills' defense is, and it is bad, but they only allowed 23.5 points a game. The Bills' offense scores around 30 a game. It's around 28, 29. So the point being, the Bills have a larger amount they have a more variety of ways to win games. So their ceiling is higher because when they're clicking on offense, there's almost nothing you can do on defense to stop them. And you're going to struggle to keep up with them. While the Bills say they are struggling to score. As long as their defense holds you to 20 to 24 points, they're still going to be in the game. While a lot of these other teams, they just can't play that other style. So that doesn't mean the Bills are going to make a run. But the point of it is they're capable of doing it. And we've mentioned guys like Ed Oliver. If Ed Oliver is back for the playoffs, and he is close to 90%, and he's getting pass rush, that changes the entire look of the Bills' defense.
I think that with this field right now, it's interesting when you look at it from that perspective, from just who does have the highest ceiling and how you look at it that way. Because offensively there is it's hard to imagine somebody. Yeah, it really is hard to imagine maybe the Jags, but if the Bills peak offensively, what they've shown through the year, it's hard to imagine someone scoring with them. But then again, it's just such a weird situation with how flawed all these teams are truly in the AFC, where we're so used to the Bills, Chiefs, and Ravens in the AFC being complete teams, where it's just and even the Bills defense, probably the weakest unit of those six units, not counting special teams, those last couple years too, for various reasons, but still like so head and shoulders above the rest. And now you look at the AFC field and Denver has some real flaws even for a 12. Like, it's hard for me to imagine Denver. I mean, maybe just because they'll have home field and that defense can step up, but making a Super Bowl with the play, like you said, they have offensively. With the Texans, the offense been pretty middle of the pack for most of the year. Like, I don't. If the this is going to be some crazy. If that would be the craziest run, if the Steelers all of a sudden make the run to win the division from where they were at, and then to make a Super Bowl run, like, it doesn't feel like they're in this conversation. But I really can't picture any of these 7 teams that are in the playoff field right now making a run to the Super Bowl. And I don't know if that's because I'm just not used to it, or because it is a situation where they're so much more flawed than in years past. And I don't really remember a year like this in like the early 2010s, like I guess with the Jets making their run to the championship games, and the year that the Ravens won their Super Bowl, winning 3 games in the wild card. Like, they're like more open, but you still had the Patriots at the top of that, the conference in those years. You still had the Steelers, who were consistently at the top of those conferences. Even the Chargers, even old man Phillip Rivers 15 years ago slinging it then. Like, it was still the usual suspects you expected to be there, and some surprise teams there. And now your only usual suspect is a team who has consistently blown it, in this generation of football fans knows them to do that. So nobody really knows what to do with these teams, because there's nothing we can like hang our hat on with any of them. And nobody this season has taken like that brass ring. No one's grabbed it. No one this year has been impressive enough to where we could all say, we all could have 6 different opinions on who the best team in the AFC is, and we all could be right for various reasons. There's only 3 of us, but if there were 3 other people, they could have 3 other opinions too. Who knows?
And that's my point. And that's what I want to like. That's what, and I struggle with it too, because I've gone back and forth with like the Chiefs aren't in the playoffs. The Ravens aren't in the playoffs. The Bengals aren't in the playoffs. But like the Jags are averaging 27.5 points a game. Like the Patriots are averaging 27 a game. The Jags, they're playing, really good football. They just put up 34. They put up 48, 36, 25, 27, 35. Like, they've been 30. Like, they put up almost 30 points in their last 8 weeks of consistent football. So that's where I think I understand the point that the Bills have the highest ceiling, because when Josh Allen's in his zone and the Bills are running the football like they do, I think that it is scary. But I don't think I could confidently say that, based off what I've seen this year, the Jags are 11-4. The Broncos have lost 3 games. The Patriots have lost 3 games. Even the Chargers have lost 4 games. The Texans have lost 5 games and started terribly, and they've been almost flawless the last 9-10 weeks. I don't think, with the inconsistencies from this Bills team, how they look metrically, and the inconsistencies from week to week, half to half, that this year alone, looking at it, and I get it's hard because those Chiefs, Ravens, and Bengals aren't in it. I think it's hard to say undoubtedly that the Bills at their best are unbeatable. But I just don't think that's the case this year.
Here's the problem with all of it. And I respect where you're coming from. And none of us are saying the Bills are going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I know.
On year 4 of the Bills' run of getting the Super Bowls, they were a wild card team. Like, their metrics showed they were like the 15th best team in the NFL. But come playoff time, they had the experience of going to 3 straight Super Bowls. They had the experience, and they went on a run.
That's the 90s teams, though.
No, but the point of it is, Jake, you were saying these teams are more flawed. I don't think this is a very flawed AFC field. What I think you're seeing is a reverse of what the AFC and the NFC have been the last 25 years. The AFC has had dynasties. They've had the Patriots go to 10 Super Bowls and win 6. They've had the Kansas City Chiefs go to 5 Super Bowls and win 3. We've had the Steelers go to 3 Super Bowls and win 2. The AFC has been dominated by the same couple teams for 25 years. What has happened during the NFC in that time? You've seen the Eagles win 2. You've seen the Giants win 2. You've seen teams, the Carolina Panthers went to a Super Bowl. You've had a lot of disparity. You've seen Green Bay go to a Super Bowl.
Niners.
So, like, Why is that? Because the NFC hasn't had, until recently with Philadelphia, dominant teams controlling their conference on a yearly basis. So we all look at it right now and we're like, well, this AFC is super flawed. Like, I don't think it's very flawed. And you guys don't either, because you said earlier that you thought the AFC was just as good as the NFC. Now, I don't think the top of the AFC is as good as the top of the NFC, so I wouldn't agree with that statement. But you look at it like these are all good teams. They are all solid, like, teams overall that are capable of representing the AFC. And that is all good things. But like the difference that the Bills have versus their competition in the AFC this year is that the Bills have the experience of having been there the last 7 years, this being the 7th year in a row. And I know people say, well, you haven't gotten to a Super Bowl. What does that mean? They've gone to 2 AFC championships the last 5 years. That is impactful experience where they know what it's like to play with the game on the line and what it means and being able to grasp it. We don't know how Drake May is going to play in a big moment in a playoff game. Maybe he'll be great like he has been all regular season. But we've even seen moments where Drake May makes a lot of great throws. But has he been dependent on to just carry the Patriots this season throughout? No, he hasn't. Like, he's very good. He's going to be probably the runner-up for the MVP. But I haven't seen Drake May carry the Patriots on the back through a moment of a ton of adversity outside of the Ravens game recently. And you could say the last-minute drive against the Bills. But those are 2 examples. I don't know what Bo Nix is going to do if his team is down 10 points in the second quarter of a game. I don't know what Trevor Lawrence is going to do in a playoff game when he's getting pressured throughout and he doesn't have a clean pocket. I don't know what Herbert's going to do. I don't know what CJ Stroud
is doing. Quarterbacks, though. What's the Bills' defense going to do?
But this is the thing. Defense is the least predictable thing to happen on a game-by-game basis. We talk about this all the time. AJ, the Chiefs in the early years of Mahomes had one of the worst defenses in the NFL. But you know what the Chiefs' defense would do? Sometimes in the playoffs, they would show up and they'd make plays. Defense doesn't correlate to regular season defense doesn't correlate to how you look in the playoffs. And that's a thing that a lot of
2019 were 8th in points per game allowed in the rate, 7th in points allowed.
What I'm trying to say is this.
So I want to say a very bad defense.
You can have the Bills don't have a good defense. Nobody is arguing that. Like they probably have a defense around 20 to 23rd in the league, somewhere in that area. Maybe slightly better depending on what you look at. But the point is this, like, it's that you don't know what Denver and New England are going to bring on either side of the ball when it matters the most. The reason why we're fearful of teams like Denver and New England is, well, they have a great defense. Well, what did Jacksonville just do to the Denver defense? They obliterated them. If you go on the road in Denver and you score 31 points, who's going to win the game?
Denver just put up 34 against Green Bay. So, I mean, probably the team that scores 31.
It's possible. But the point of it is this, AJ. If Denver's defense has an average day, the Bills are probably winning the game. If you go to New England and you score 28 to 31 points, you're probably winning the game. It's not a guarantee, but the numbers would say you have a better chance than not of winning in those situations. So it's one of those things where no one is saying the Bills are winning the Super Bowl. Nobody's even saying the Bills are getting to a Super Bowl. But the Bills, like we act like this Bills defense is worlds behind every other defense in the league. Houston, let me just pull it up. So I have the numbers.
I feel like the Bills' offense is light years ahead of every other offense when they're like 1 or 2 points per game better. So what?
This goes back to experience, though, AJ. This is what I keep bringing up. So Houston allows 69 points a game. So they're the extreme example, but most of the other defenses in the league are around 18, 19, 20 points. If the Bills score 21 points against Houston, they're probably going to have a chance at winning. Like, and if they play Houston, it's going to probably be in Buffalo. It's one of those things where the Bills' defense historically in the playoffs hasn't been bad against most opponents. It's been bad against 2 teams, Kansas City and Cincinnati. And I still keep coming back to one thing. they have the top rushing attack in the NFL. And that is what matters the most in playoff football. Now, in the future, it might not, as all these teams start going indoors and you have domes and it becomes more of an indoor style game. But as long as Denver and New England still are playing outside, which the Broncos will be until they get their new stadium in the future, the Bills will have one advantage over those type of teams. It's that they can pound the rock. And as long as the Bills can pound the rock, they're going to be hard to stop because they'll be able to control the clock. They'll be able to keep second and third and shorts. And then when they get in those advantageous situations, they can run the ball with Josh Allen or they can throw the ball, and they have a variety of different things that they can do with play action. I just think at the end of the day, when Kansas City didn't have the best metrics the last couple years, nobody went into playoffs saying Kansas City doesn't have a chance. Like,
I'm not saying the Bills can't do it. I just don't think you can say unequivocally that the Bills have
nobody's saying it unequivocally. That's the point. Like, everybody is saying straight up, like, yeah, 5 different teams can reach it out of the AFC. All we're saying when we're saying the Bills have the highest ceiling is that they have the best quarterback in the league, and that when that quarterback is playing his 8+ version of football, there's not one other team in the NFL that can go toe-to-toe with him. The only way another team can go toe-to-toe with him is if the Bills' defense matches their quarterback's A+ effort with an F- effort. And even in the games that they've done that this year, the Bills have still found a way to win. That's the point. They go in what this team didn't do in the past when they were a pass-first offense, and this is the ironic part, when they were throwing it for 300 yards a game or 280 a game, the Bills didn't win the shootouts half the time. They were losing games 34-31. They would lose 37-34. The Bills won a game in which they allowed 40 points this year. They won a game against Tampa Bay where they allowed 30+. They won a game against Cincinnati in which they allowed 30+. Why? Because they can do it in a variety of ways. And that is the difference in this team. And this was Eric Mangini, I think it was him saying it, or maybe it was Nick Wright. I forget who was saying it. There's a lot of the Bills kind of stealing from the Patriots' way of doing things. The Patriots, I know Julian Edelman was a very good receiver, but he wasn't a star because he was the most skilled or talented player in the world. Those Patriot teams were built off of star quarterback, 2 tight ends, being able to attack you in a variety of different ways. The Bills' offense is built off of
elite defense.
What?
And an elite defense.
Elite defense, but we don't know what's going to happen in the playoffs when the moment comes when they're playing.
Because it hasn't happened yet. What would you predict?
What would happen? Like, if you went through the matchups, if say the Bills play Pittsburgh in the first round, I'm picking the Bills 27-17. Like, I'm thinking the Bills are going to hold them to under 20. Let's say Houston upsets New England and the Bills are playing Jacksonville, well, that's probably going to be like a 34-31 type game. It's going to be a toss-up. Whoever scores more points probably wins it. And then if you go to Denver, you're probably talking about like a 24-21 type game or 27-24 type game. Like, the point being, like, we always ask, why does the Bills defense suck in the first half and then they look good in the second half? And I know that it was a little bit different in Cleveland because they were kind of equally the same in both halves. But what did Shedeur Sanders say happened on second down of the game? He thought he was seeing a coverage that was one thing, and the Bills threw something completely different at him in a crucial second down moment. Now, I'm not going to compare it to Spags in this moment because Spags would be aggressive and blitz. But it's not about what your defense does from the first snap to the last snap. If you're in a close game, oftentimes it's, do you make the big defensive play in the big moment? And so far this season, what has this defense done in the big moments? Against Baltimore, they get a forced fumble, and then they get a 3-and-out where 1 first down would have cost them a game. Against Cincinnati, they're getting lit up the entire game. They get back-to-back interceptions to clinch it. Against Tampa, they're struggling the whole game, and then they create a takeaway, and then they get enough stops where the Bills win it. Against New England, they go down 21-0, and then they shut them down for basically an entire second half outside of one crazy run. The point, and then even against Cleveland, the whole game, they're kind of blah. They're not doing great. But then when the game is on the line, they get a sack and an intentional grounding, back-to-back plays to end it. Everybody is so focused on the numbers and how they're not doing good enough, but they're not realizing the Bills are doing what the Chiefs do a lot. They find a way. They're executing. They're making the plays when it matters the most. That is what championships are built on. How many times in the history of football do you see the best team just winning a Super Bowl 42-21? Like, you don't see that often. Normally teams that win Super Bowls, they win it in a style that contrasts how they normally play throughout the season. The Patriots beat the Rams in one Super Bowl 13-3. They could barely even score, but their defense dominated the best offense in the league the entire season. The Patriots won other Super Bowls where they did crazy stuff. The New York Giants won Super Bowls against the Patriots where Eli Manning, who was a great quarterback all season, they barely put up 13 points. The point being is this: you don't need to have a great defense to be good in the playoffs when it matters the most. You just need to show up when it matters the most. Football is about matchups and about situational execution. And the Bills this year are doing a better job at situational execution than I have seen during any point in the Sean McDermott era. And you know why that is? Because they are playing close games the entire season. They're playing through adversity. They're not front running. And when you front run, you get punched in the face. And guess what? You get knocked out or you back down and you don't get back up. This team has been punched in the face so many fucking times that in a way, even though it's not fun for us as a fan to see our team lowering its metrics, lowering what it's doing, we should be equally pleased that they keep getting back up. They keep responding. They keep battling, because that is the stuff that happens in the playoffs. And the reason why the Bills haven't won Super Bowls yet is because they lacked that type of DNA in previous years, and they have it right now. AJ, look at all the games through the last 5 years. They've been a front-running team for most of that time. Now, have they had a few comebacks? Yes. Did they have the 13 seconds moment where they came back and coaching and special teams blew it for them? Yes. But typically, the Bills' point differential the last 5 years was nearly 200 points higher than the next best team in the NFL.
They were 6-6, though, a few years ago and won 5.
Yes, and you know what the metrics said that point? The metrics still said the Bills were like a top 2 team in the NFL because the games that they were losing, they were handing games away. This team doesn't quit. Realistically, this team right now,
I agree with that. That's
Bills team could be 7-8 right now. They could be 7-8 if some games go the opposite way. But the point being, you don't win or lose Super Bowls based on what you do week 1 to week 18. The regular season is about getting to the playoffs and then building the identity and the type of team you need to be so you have the right mentality to make a run. When the Bengals got to the Super Bowl, did they beat Kansas City in a shootout? No. Did they beat Tennessee Titans in a shootout? No. Joe Burrow got sacked like 7 times against the Titans. He was playing horrible. The Titans should have won the game, but guess what happened? Joe Burrow had a drive at the end, and they made the field goal. Against Kansas City, they made enough plays to hold on. The point of this whole AFC field right now is that none of these other teams has shown that they can dominate. So when you're going up against other teams that haven't shown the ability to dominate, you should go into every game knowing you have a chance. And if we play our brand of football and we can exploit certain matchups, we're going to have a chance at winning. So, it comes down to this. Any team in the AFC could go to the Super Bowl right now. But it is so crazy for people to write off the Bills. They are 11-4. They are 2 wins away from matching their record from last season. And I know that you're probably losing it listening to me say all this, AJ. But the fact of it is, how often does a team win it when they're supposed to win it? It would be the most football-like thing possible that everybody says the Bills' window is closing, that this isn't the year, and then they go out and they get the job done.
I just realized that I wasn't checking the Instagram, the comments, and then I see AJ's firing back with Johnny in here, which I love. I love that Johnny's always passionate in here. We love so I'm apologizing to people in the comments. Thank you for sharing everything in here. StreamYard's got to figure this out. They're not giving us the notifications.
For what,
Mike,
Instagram or?
No, I meant YouTube, but like it doesn't give me the little notification thing. Yeah, so I have to remember to check it manually. So sorry about that, everybody in there. Mike, that sounds like you want to pick the Bills to win the Super Bowl. That's what
but he won't. But he won't.
It sounds like you want to.
I'll say this. I will say this. I have been on a effing heater this year with things that I have said that have come true. And I'm not saying that like I'm Nostradamus or anything, but I'm a hypocrite because I do hedge a little bit. I know AJ will point that out if I don't say it. But I was pretty quick on these aren't the same Kansas City Chiefs. And that turned out to be 100%. And then another team that I was kind of quick on was
the Colts.
Well, the Colts lost Daniel Jones. That's when everything fell apart. But you guys, I was talking that the Steelers were not – it wasn't a formality that the Ravens were going to win the AFC North. You guys were laughing at me about the Steelers a couple weeks ago. Now, I've noticed a theme this year. When I say something and Jake and AJ laugh at me, I have a 99% chance I'm going to be correct on it. So I hope you guys laugh at me. Like, I'll say this. I said it before the year, AJ. I said during the beginning of the season. I said that I have a weird feeling about this Bills team that if they are going to get the job done, that they will win the Super Bowl either this year or next year. That this was their time. And I look at it, and guys, I was totally wrong on the 1 seed shit at the beginning of the year. Like, I was like, oh, the Bills are going to breeze to the 1 seed. Was wrong on that. But the one thing I was right on early in the year was after the Burrow injury, I was looking at things and I was like, you might not have Mahomes, you might not have Burrow, and then Lamar Jackson, he's out. Are they going to be able to make up the ground? I looked at those three things and I said, you know what? This might be your best chance. And I'm still there. I'm still there. Like, let's just do head to head. Let's just do a thought experiment. If the Bills, we'll go through each Bills matchup in the AFC. Bills versus Patriots in divisional round or AFC championship. Who are you picking? I'll go Jake, then AJ.
I'm picking the Bills against New England.
Yeah, AJ, who are you picking?
I'll pick the Bills against New England.
Okay, Bills versus Broncos in AFC divisional or AFC championship.
I think that's a toss-up. I think the Broncos.
I pick Denver because I picked Buffalo against New England.
All year long, you've been shitting on the Broncos, and now you're going to pick the Broncos.
Well, I'm a believer, baby.
That's unbelievable.
Believer.
Bills versus stop it. You believe. Bills versus Jaguars and AFC divisional.
I think that's a toss-up too. I think those are the two toss-up teams for me. Are the Denver Broncos and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Because their defensive, the offensive ceiling of the Jags has looked like it can reach the Bills at this point, and the Broncos are just the most well-rounded and talented team in the field. And going to Denver is a tough place to go win.
Yeah, Bills at Pittsburgh in the wild card.
The Bills, they're smart. Old man Roger. I can't wait to see Rodgers.
No matter what happens, I'm picking the Bills.
Bills versus Chargers home AFC Championship.
Here's the thing. Johnny Utah says it's the freaking Jaguars. People say it's the freaking Bills, though. We can't like that. We can't talk like that. I'm sorry.
Bills Chargers AFC Championship in Buffalo.
Bills.
I'm probably taking the Bills, but
Bills,
Herbert's special, man. Herbert's probably what you would. I mean, Herbert.
Put him in 10-degree weather in late January. Let's see if he can still throw a football. Bills Texans AFC Championship Buffalo.
Bills.
The point of that thought experiment was you keep saying, AJ, that
I think it can happen. I just don't think.
No. The point of that thought experiment was you keep saying you can't see them winning 3 games in a row on the road. The reason
which I have an 80% chance of being right on.
It's easy to say that, but you have to remember that is not how it works. It's one game at a time. So if you play Pittsburgh in the first round and you think it's 70% likely the Bills win that game,
Sure.
boom, one game is out of the way, and then it's on to your next matchup. It's on to your next matchup then. And then if it's Patriots and it's 50-50, like that could go either way. And then once you get past the Patriots, who fucking cares about, can they win a third in a row? It doesn't matter at that point because you already got the first two out of the way. And then it's, can you win one game against either Denver or Houston or the Chargers or whoever it may be to get there? And the point of it being, that thought experiment was, there wasn't one game that we went through where you were like, the Bills have no chance in this game.
Did you do that the last years, though?
What?
You did that against Kansas City? You said there's no chance they're beating Kansas City in the previous years?
There's only one time I've ever picked the Bills against Kansas City, and that was
but you're not gonna pick the Bills this whole run either. What I'm saying is, was there ever a game where you went out to Kansas City thinking they have no chance?
There was never a game that the first one, the AFC Championship.
Okay, I agree with that.
And I would have said even the 13 seconds game, I would have given Kansas City a distinct advantage over us. The only time I felt confident that the Bills were going to beat Kansas City was the divisional round at home, because I thought the home field might make the difference. And then last year I went in thinking they have a chance, but they have to have everything go right for them. And this is the thing I feel about the Bills in the playoffs. I feel like the narrative with the Bills in the playoffs is that they choke and that they don't show up. I think I think narratives are oftentimes, they come from nice principled thoughts, but there's things that are flawed about it. So like my thought with the Bills in the playoffs is this: when they're playing Pittsburgh, when they're playing Denver, when they're playing almost anybody else, they're normally taking care of business pretty decently. Like they normally take care of business pretty solidly in the wild card. Like, yes, they let Miami come back with
Indy.
But those were games where their opponents came back. The Bills were in control, and then they let off the gas. And yes, they shouldn't let off the gas, but the Bills were in control of the Miami game. They were in control of the Indy game. And then they made some mistakes. They let teams come back. And then it came back to kill them against Houston, where they had the lead. They blow it. But when I look at the
should have had an extra touchdown, though.
When I look at the Kansas City games, I don't often look at it like the Bills played bad in those games. I look at it more as the Bills' offense was actually pretty solid in 3 of those 4 games. But what happened was there was situational moments where they didn't come through. Last year, 4th down, if Amari Cooper gets one step, he's taking that and they're in field goal range. And then in 4th down, they get outsmarted by Spagnuolo, and that's that. The year before, Shakir's opened the end zone. You could make an argument they should have thrown it to Diggs, but they miss a field goal. Those games came down to 1 or 2 plays in clutch time, but the offense executed well for the most part in both of those games. And the defense, they struggled. But you expect most defenses to struggle when they're going up against a Mahomes or a Josh Allen quarterback team. My thing would be more saying this: if the Bills have the same focus level that they've had the last 5 years in the playoffs, and they have that against the New England Patriots or the Pittsburgh Steelers or the LA Chargers or the Houston Texans, I'm going to go into those games thinking the Bills are the better team. Now, are they going to win? No. But if you ask me right now, do I think this is the best chance for the Bills to win the Super Bowl to date in the Josh Allen era? I am saying definitively 100%. This is their best shot. And anyone saying counter doesn't appreciate the greatness.
Mike's going to fight you.
No, I won't fight anybody. But you're wrong. Anybody saying counter
boxing match
is ignoring the greatness of the Kansas City Chiefs. Because this is, if you look back in football history.
Can I ask you a question? And Jake, you too. Who do you trust more, Sean Payton in the big moment or Sean McDermott as a head coach?
I don't know if I trust either.
Who do you trust more, Vrabel or McDermott?
Again, I don't trust either. Like the coaches, I trust players.
If we're doing more,
How about Jim Harbaugh or Sean McDermott?
if we're doing a coach thing, I think I was going to say Harbaugh is the guy who I would be. That's why that would be why the Chargers.
Well, coaching's a part of it.
As a
The Chiefs have been more. The Chiefs have the Chiefs been more talented than the Bills the last couple of years?
Yes.
Sabres scored. Have the Chiefs been more talented than the Bills every year on paper? You think?
For the most part, yes.
Oh, so you think the Chiefs have the better roster?
Chris Jones makes all the difference in the world.
Okay.
Trent McDuffie, like, also, you know what the Chiefs have that, like, we all say it and we joke about it. The Chiefs get away with a lot of shit in the playoffs.
Yeah, the refs help them.
They grab. They don't get called for a lot of that.
Yeah.
Like, when you have one team getting called for every little tug and another team getting away with everything, that's going to create an uneven playing field. And whether or not that's intentional or unintentional bias that happens in a game, it does happen. There is proven, like, it's
Maybe this is the Bills' time to get it, right?
I was gonna say if there's ever a time where the Bills are gonna benefit from that for a playoff run, it would be this year.
I don't want to be this guy, but I'm going to be this guy. I'm 100% going to be this guy, and you guys are going to laugh at me. I don't believe the NFL is scripted. I don't at all.
And for the 12th time this season.
But
But
let's be real right now. How often does a second-year quarterback that's just coming into his own get to the Super Bowl? I mean, outside of Tom, like, was Tom Brady's second year, so maybe the Patriots just have this thing. But, like, and then you got Bo Nix, second-year quarterback. You got 2 second-year quarterbacks in the 1 and 2 seeds. You have a former number 1 overall pick in the 3 seed who has been up and down his entire career. And he's having a good moment right now, but I don't think he's had enough long-term good moments to trust that he'll have this going into the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers is old and he's playing well, but he has no mobility. If you're looking at this from an NFL storyline perspective, Josh Allen delivers ratings. Right now, they are lacking 2 of their top guys when it comes to delivering ratings. No Mahomes, no Lamar Jackson, and then I know Burrow hasn't been in the playoffs the last 2 years, but let's say also no Joe Burrow. It's going to be the NFL is going to get numbers no matter what. But do you think they're going to get set record ratings for Chargers, Jacksonville, and Houston Patriots? They're not. They're not going to get the gargantuan ratings that they want. They'll get people watching, no doubt. But you're talking about a reigning MVP quarterback who might be the face of the NFL at the current moment because he currently is the best quarterback in the world.
And he is on a million commercials.
He's married to an Academy Award nominated supporting actress who just got pregnant with their first child. They are getting you go to Europe, not everybody knows who NFL players are. But there's a lot that know who Josh Allen is. Even people that don't watch football a lot know who Josh Allen is because of Haley Steinfeld. We always joked about the Taylor Swift stuff. But to be honest, there was always a little bit to it. Like, there was always because if there wasn't, they wouldn't be airing her on TV every time she's at a game. Why?
It was this year before that game when the last 2 shots were Taylor Swift and Haley Steinfeld of the hype video. It was one of the most absurd things I've ever seen on a CBS broadcast.
I would say this: I don't believe games are rigged, but it makes a lot of sense for the NFL to secretly want Josh Allen to get his run. The Bills have a new stadium that they're moving into next year. They are going to want him to be the face of the league. And if you look at historically, even when the Patriots went through their dynasty, they were always good, even in the years that they weren't winning the Super Bowl. But they went through a period where they won 3 out of 4. And then what kind of opened up after they won their 3rd Super Bowl? Pittsburgh won a couple. The Colts went 1-1 and went to another. There was an opening for other teams for about a decade to have an opportunity. The Chiefs right now are probably entering the middle phase, a little bit later than Brady, but maybe the middle phase of they're starting their slight drop off. We're probably going to see Travis Kelce retire this offseason. He is coming off a down season. He's 36. He's getting married. We don't know if Mahomes is going to be playing the beginning of next year. They're not going to be able to get off-season workouts together. That'll impact their performance on the field. He's not the same player.
You said that like Kelsey's going to get put on the injury report, married, limited in practice.
Speaking logically, it would make sense if Kelce decided this is it. And as much as we say, well, Mahomes can just elevate anybody, it obviously hasn't been that easy because Worthy hasn't turned into anything. Rasheed Rice, we thought he was going to be a superstar. He's very good, but he hasn't turned into a star. The Chiefs have struggled to adapt post Tyreek Hill offensively. Now, luckily, their defense was great, and it carried them for years. But luck turned against them this year, where they weren't winning the one-score games. The refs were starting to call more flags on them, and they started losing a lot. So if the Chiefs take a step down, if Lamar and this drama continues in Baltimore, you might be entering this window where the Bills can take advantage. And I don't know. I'll just say this. I think this might be the year. Or they'll lose in the first round by 20. But I honestly feel internally, Jake, that this might be the year. Because you know what? It always happens when you least expect it. And what a better story for the NFL than the reigning MVP who's married to a Hollywood celebrity who just got her pregnant to go 3 games on the road and fucking take down the division champion AFC East winning Patriots in the AFC Championship to go to their first Super Bowl and then knock the shit out of either the LA Rams, Seattle Seahawks, or San Fran 49ers. Like, it just seems like if you were the NFL, this is the story you would want to play out.
Mike's been saying these stories about the Bills with like the NFL the last like 3 years, so don't let it.
After all that too, he's gonna pick the Patriots to make the Super Bowl. He's gonna be like, Drake May is going to make the plays when it matters most. It's hard to go into Foxborough, and I'm picking the Patriots. Yeah. That's what's gonna happen.
I think I'll just tell you how I feel like it's gonna play out. I'll just do it right now for you. If the Patriots are the 2 and Houston's the 7, Houston's beating the Patriots in the wild card round. Bills get past.
Wow, that's very confident of you to say that you're so confident with that. Just like us saying that the Steelers were gonna lose to the Ravens.
I think the Bills get past the Steelers, and I think Jacksonville Chargers is a toss-up game. And if somehow the Chargers beat Jacksonville, then the Bills are hosting LA in the divisional round in Buffalo. That would change everything. Like, let's be real. If Houston beat the Patriots and Jacksonville loses to the Chargers, you're no longer 3 games on the road. You are hosting divisional round against the Chargers with Houston taking on Denver. You're a Denver upset away from hosting Houston for an AFC championship. And then you're not feeling like, oh, this is so tough. Like, and I know the odds of that all happening are extremely low, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities. A lot of times you see these 7
I imagine the spreads are not going to be big on any of those wild card matchups.
That's the point I'm trying to say.
The Bills will be favored. The Jags will be like a 2-point favorite over the Chargers, maybe 2.5. The Patriots, honestly,
the Chargers.
Where it'd be tricky is if the Bills.
But wasn't that the game that Herbert got hurt in?
I don't know.
I think it was.
They'll probably get 2 to 3 points.
Let's say the Bills play at Jacksonville. That's going to be a Bills Mafia takeover in the divisional round. Like, that'll be half Bills fans.
I think it'll be a takeover anywhere, especially if they have to go to Denver.
Do you guys remember what Jacksonville looked like in 2017?
There was Blake Bortles, though.
No, but
it's Duval, Liam Cohen. I think Jacksonville will show up.
No, that Jacksonville team went to the AFC Championship. But
they weren't supposed to.
But they were like 10 minutes away from going to they were competitive that year. Like the point of it being, let's say let's say Houston doesn't upset New England. Let's say New England gets past Houston and the Bills get past Pittsburgh and the Bills are playing New England in the divisional round in Foxborough. That's still a toss-up game. Like that could go either way. Like, and then if you beat New England, and then like in that scenario, and then well, that's assuming New England's like the 1 seed. Like, who knows what happens between Jacksonville and Denver? Like, do I think the Bills can beat Denver to get to a Super Bowl? Yeah, I think they can. Do I think the Bills can beat Jacksonville to get to a Super Bowl? Yes, I can. And you better believe that if it's somehow Jacksonville versus Buffalo to get to the Super Bowl, that they're going to call every flag on Jacksonville in that game. like the Jacksonville could score a game-winning touchdown, and they're going to call
this so bad.
They're going to call some type of holding call on them. Like, all I'm saying is this. I have no idea what's going to happen. But for anybody else to pretend like they know what's going to happen, they're crazy. No one knows.
Well, we have to put our money where our mouth is, at least for this Week 17 matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles. AJ, what do you got?
Yeah, I've watched Philly the last couple of weeks. Their offense has been awful. I think there's been a couple of times where they haven't even gotten a first down in the first half. I think there was one of those games where they didn't even get a first down in the first half. Their offense has been very subpar. I think Dallas Goedert gives them some good things. AJ Brown's been picking it up as of late, but I think their offensive line's down this year. Saquon Barkley, their running game, is down this year. So that concerns me for them coming on the road. But, maybe this is a game where Saquon can get it going a little bit. In terms of their defense, they have a lot of talent. Cooper DeJean is a guy that I think a lot of Bills Mafia wanted a couple of years ago, or was an option in the draft coming out of Iowa. He's a great player. Obviously, their defensive line, the Bills' O-line is going to have to protect. I am a believer that the Bills need to get the 5 seed. I really don't want to see Jacksonville in the first round, just with the way they're playing. I know that they're going to have to eventually play them if it gets to that point, but I would rather avoid them early and maybe see them down the line. So I would go the Bills. I think the Bills are going to get this done. I think they're going to play to win. I think this Philly team, like I've said, not only is their division stink and they're going to win their division regardless, but I think they're just going to try and find a rhythm and get going for the playoffs. I think the Bills will find some effectiveness in the run. Give me the Bills 32-27. I think the Bills win another close one at home, 425. Again, I think Saquon does have a big game for them because I think the Eagles are going to need that going into the playoffs. And I think the Bills is, that's a team that they can take advantage of in doing that. But I still think the Bills, they're playing better in terms of they're finding more ways to win, where the Eagles, I think, have struggled to find those ways to win. So give me the Bills 30-27.
Yeah, I'm struggling with this right now. I'm very struggling with this right now. The Bills started as a 3-point favorite. It went down to 1.5. It looks like when the line was 3 and 2.5, a lot of money was going the Eagles' way. But as the line gets lower, it goes a lot more to Buffalo. The narratives are normally how I pick how games are going to go, then based on the money. But right now, the metrics say this is a 50-50 game, that this one can go either way. We saw these two teams a couple years ago when the Bills were struggling, and the Bills almost pulled it out. They blew that game and lost in overtime. I'm with you, AJ. I think this is a very important game for the Bills. I do think getting the 5 seed is huge for this team. I don't know if Sean McDermott would view it the same way, but there's a difference playing this Pittsburgh team than this Jacksonville team. Jacksonville might be the best team in the AFC right now. So I'm struggling. I am struggling on this one. I don't know which way to go.
Hey, Jake, go, and Mike can make his pick after. Go, Jake. Go, Jake.
The Eagle. I think that home field is the biggest thing in this game. The Eagles on the road this year, a lot losing to the Giants. They've lost to the Chargers in a close one, mind you. And that was essentially a home game. They lost to the Cowboys. Close game with the Packers on the road that they won. Close game in Minnesota that they won early in the season, but their home game's much different. They've blown teams out at home. They haven't blown anybody out on the road. So it's the same story as the Bills, where they're a different team home and away. I think that has a lot to do with their line, especially their quarterback, who is just not a big Jalen Hurts fan. And I think that the biggest thing with him is when they've had such a strong offensive line is when they've been at their best. And that's part of the reason you've seen Saquon struggle this year and not be as effective as he has been, because that line just hasn't been as good, and teams can key on him and shut him down. And Hurts can't beat you over the top unless he really has time. He's not a great improviser. He's getting chemistry back with Ajay Brown towards the end of the year, but they've had their issues throughout the year. It's a good Eagles defense. I bet you it makes Allen make a mistake at some point in this game. And Allen's health is going to be the biggest story. He said he's playing and it is a full go, but he was non-participant today. Whether that's some gamesmanship or not, we'll see. But I think that this Bills team, the rushing attack, I don't think it's going to be exactly cold weather, but December football, and just the play action, what they've been able to do, I think the Bills are just having the home advantage and having a better quarterback in this one, and the mistakes that we've seen this Eagles offense make a lot this year. I'm going to give the edge to the Bills, 24-20.
I'm struggling right now.
Make a pick, man. You already got one within. It doesn't matter what you do. You said 12-5. You're one within. That's what he's struggling with, because he thinks the Bills are going to win, but he's so internally struggling that he wants to be right with his preseason 12-5 record prediction that he doesn't know what to do.
It has nothing to do with my preseason prediction, even though it did clinch the 14th out of the last 16 seasons. I haven't won yet on Bills prediction. I think this is one of those games where the Bills come out and they get the W. But where I'm struggling with is, like, I don't want to like just have false hope and get it wrong. Part of me wants to pick against them just so, like, we have a graphic that doesn't show 3 people picking the Bills. I'm going to go Bills 22-21.
Right at the spread. This is the real one right here. Spread's 43.5. Mike says little under. Bills just barely don't cover at that 1.5.
I was trying to figure out how I could get to a 1-point game without something like fluky happening. So, like, I think the
Bills go for 2 at the end and win the game on the buzzer.
To Joshua Palmer, and then
electric.
And then Mike's talking about the Joshua Palmer signing and how great it's been this year.
In the big moments, Josh Palmer comes through. Wouldn't it be great if Josh Palmer in the playoffs, like, goes on a tear, or, like, he gets the game-winning catch in the Super Bowl, and then
he became like Julian Edelman all of a sudden, just has, like, the best run.
They do need more wide receiver
be nice
if they want to make a run. They do. That'll help.
It wouldn't hurt.
Especially
with the
injury.
Amari Cooper comes back for a playoff run.
Yeah, they need something.
I assume we'll see Gabe Davis. Maybe he's the answer.
Yeah,
I don't think they're going to have to. I don't think you can sit Gabe Davis
to make the room marginally better, just like Bundt said.
It's so wild.
Coleman once the entire show.
That's a good thing. We can hopefully he's. I'd be fine. I know Brandon Cooks is drawing the ire of Bills Mafia at this point, when for good reason. He won't catch the ball on these corner routes. Maybe one day he will, but he's been getting open enough where I think it's Gabe and Cooks need to be the one that play on that back end, and Hardman and Coleman can sit. That's where I'm at. But that's a good, fun, positive way to end this show. Go Bills. We did all pick the Bills, and Carson did too. So we'll see. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to you guys. Hope you both have a great time with family and friends over the next couple of days. I'm talking to you too, by the way, the fans too, but I'm talking to AJ and the screen. I hope enjoy the holiday season to everybody out there, though. Spending time with loved ones, giving back to the community, whatever you do on this holiday is just a nice, great time of the year. And hopefully the Bills in the candy cane jerseys on Sunday get the job done and send us home on a Christmas holiday weekend feeling good going into the new year, with the red helmets on the horizon in 2026 here to start the season or start the year. It's going to be a fun end of the year, but we paid the bills. Shout out to our sponsor, Picasso's Pizza. Go watch the Sabres game. Go follow Crossing Swords for all the coverage there. Follow us at Pay the Bills Pod for all the coverage heading into the playoffs. Go Bills. All right, the stream.